नमस्ते बिटिया। हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। I am Dr. Bharat Sharma, Assistant Professor, Department of Pathology, Faculty of Homeopathic Science, Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women's University, Jaipur. Today's topic is pulmonary hypertension. Normally, the pulmonary arterial circulation is high flow and low pressure system with much lower blood pressure than the systemic blood pressure. It does not exceed 30 upon 15 millimeter of mercury. Even during exercise, normally blood pressure in the pulmonary vein is between 3 to 3 and 8 milligram of mercury, millimeter of mercury. Pulmonary hypertension is defined as a systolic blood pressure in the pulmonary arterial circulation above 30 millimeter of mercury. Pulmonary hypertension is broadly classified into two groups. First is primary idiopathic pulmonary hypertension, and second is secondary pulmonary hypertension. And the secondary are the later being more common. Now, first is primary or idiopathic pulmonary hypertension. Primary or idiopathic pulmonary hypertension is an uncommon condition of unknown cause. The diagnosis can be established only after a thorough search for the usual causes of secondary pulmonary hypertension. The patients are usually young females between the age of 20 to 40 years or children around 5 years of age. Etiopathogenesis of primary pulmonary hypertension. Though the etiology of primary pulmonary hypertension is unknown, a number of etiologic factors have been suggested to explain its pathogenesis. First is a neurohumoral vasoconstriction mechanism may be involved, leading to chronic vasoconstriction that induces pulmonary hypertension. The occurrence of disease in young female has prompted a suggestion that unrecognized thromboemboli or amniotic fluid emboli during pregnancy may play a role. There is a suggestion that primary pulmonary hypertension may be a form of collagen vascular diseases. This is supported by occurrence of Raynaud's phenomena preceding the onset of this disease by a number of years in many patients, and disease association with systemic lupus erythematosus, scleroderma, and rheumatoid arthritis. Pulmonary veno-occlusive diseases characterized by fibrous obliteration of small pulmonary veins is believed to be responsible for some cases of primary pulmonary hypertension, especially in children. This is generally considered a consequences of thrombosis or vasculitis. Ingestion of substances like bush tea, oral contraceptive, and appetite depressant agents like aminorex are believed to be related to pulmonary primary pulmonary hypertension. Familial occurrence has been reported in a number of cases. Now, secondary pulmonary hypertension. When pulmonary hypertension occurs secondary to a recognized lesion in the heart or lungs, it is termed as secondary pulmonary hypertension. It is the more common type and may be encountered at any age, but is seen more frequently over the age of 50 years. Secondary pulmonary hypertension is more common than primary pulmonary hypertension. Etiopathogenesis of secondary pulmonary hypertension. Based on the underlying mechanism, causes of pulmonary secondary pulmonary hypertension are divided into the following three groups. First is passive pulmonary hypertension. This is the commonest and is produced by diseases raising pressure in the pulmonary vein. Examples are mitral stenosis, chronic left ventricular failure, example in severe systematic hypertension, aortic stenosis, or myocardial fibrosis. Second is hyperkinetic or reactive pulmonary hypertension. In this group are included causes in which the blood enters the pulmonary arteries in greater volume or at a higher pressure. For example, first is patent ductus arteriosus. Second is arterial or ventricular septal defects. Third is vaso-occlusive pulmonary hypertension. Vaso-occlusive causes may be further subdivided into three types. First is obstructive type, in which there is a blockage in pulmonary circulation. Examples are multiple thrombi or multiple emboli blockaging the pulmonary circulation. In cases of sickle cell disease. And third is schismatosmosis, obliterative type, in which there is a reduction of pulmonary vascular bed by chronic parenchymal lung disease, chronic emphysema. Second is chronic bronchitis. Third is bronchiectasis. Fourth is pulmonary tuberculosis. Fifth is pneumoconiosis. Third is vasoconstrictive type, in which there is widespread and sustained hypoxic vasoconstriction and alveolar hyperventilation, leading to pulmonary hypertension. Examples of this are in those residing at the height altitude. Second is pathologic obesity. Third is upper airway disease such as tonsillar hypertrophy. Fourth is neuromuscular diseases such as poliomyelitis. Fifth is severe kyphoscoliosis. Morphological features. Arterioles and small pulmonary arteries. These branches shows most conspicuous changes These changes are medial hypertrophy, thickening and reduplication of elastic laminae, plexiform pulmonary arteriopathy, in which there is intraluminal tuft of capillary formation in dilated thin-walled arterial branches. These lesions are not so marked in secondary pulmonary hypertension. Medium-sized pulmonary arteries, medial hypertrophy, which is not so marked in secondary pulmonary hypertension, concentric intimal thickening, adventitial fibrosis, thickening and reduplication of elastic laminae. And third is large pulmonary arteries. What are the microscopical changes we see? We see atheromatous deposits. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you all enjoyed this session. If you have any query, please mention it in comment box. Thank you.